Hello and welcome to another FGTN podcast. It is Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Central, and we are live. We haven't done a live episode here in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited to hop on and go through this with you guys. We've got a ton of things to talk through, but we're going to try to keep it concise like we always do. But drop into the chat who's tuning in, where are you tuning in from, and what are you looking forward to talking about tonight? I want to keep this as an interactive live stream and replay. A lot of conversation going on right now around some of the new tech and gear in the fishing industry that's out there. One of the first things we're going to talk about are hydrofoils on boats. Lots of really cool technology out there in order to help you move quicker on the water with lower powered boats, which is kind of interesting. And the whole revolution around electric motors, and that being a important way to get more out of those motors and more efficiency. We're also going to be talking about a new fishing rod for cold weather. So for us ice fishermen that are out there, there's a new patent that's out there that is actually open for manufacturers to license. So it'll be interesting to see if anything comes of it this upcoming season. But we'll talk a little bit about that. Those are the couple things that you probably saw in the thumbnail. We're going to talk about some really like high tech things that none of us would ever have unless we own a multi-million-dollar yacht. And some of those things are being able to detect drones snooping in on you when you're out on the open ocean. But I think what's really cool about it is the technology being able to track those drones down and some of the countermeasures they can do. It's kind of like living in the future of lasers and beams and interference, and it's kind of cool. So we're going to talk about that tonight. Suzuki goes stealth. They have some new motors that they recently released. We're going to talk about PLBs. If you don't know what those are, you're going to find out what that acronym means a little bit later on. Some of us probably already have a PLB. Some of us probably don't. I do not have a PLB right now, but I probably will in the future. We're going to talk about if you live in the state of Minnesota, primarily a little bit south of the metro in the Twin Cities, there's a lake that is open for unlimited fishing right now through the end of February. So we're going to talk about that, and then a few deals at the end to wrap it up. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump in. As I'm pulling the first topic up on the screen for us to talk about, drop in the chat again. Who's tuning in? Where are you tuning in from? What do you want to talk about tonight? I want to have a dialogue around each of these. So let me know what topics you're most interested in, and we will get going from there. All right, who do we got here? We got Travis Young from New York. What's up? Thanks for tuning in. Kyle, howdy from Oshkosh. Looking for some potential rods. Yeah, we've got one of the deals we're going to talk about is actually a rod deal. Probably not what you're thinking, but it is a rod deal technically. Cheers from Vermont. How's it going? Black Hole Donkey, Shane, Kentucky, and Blaine. Doing well, Blaine. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate you hopping on the live stream here. All right. First up, we got this guy right here. This is Candela's, I think I pronounced that right, C8 foil yacht reviewed. So this, you saw this picture. This is real. This is not an AI creation. This is a real boat that exists. And this has hydrofoils on the bottom. It's called foiling. It deploys the C8's foils for lift. Planing mode retracts them for negotiating waves. Shallow mode retracts the foils into the protected garages. And harbor mode pulls both appendages above the water to prevent growth and corrosion. So it's got a bunch of different modes you can see underneath the hull. I think this is my magnifying glass, that there's like grooves for it to kind of angle up and go to the side. Otherwise, they can retract up in, they can be flush. Pretty cool. One thing that I kind of like on it is actually the green and the red directional lights on here. This has nothing to do with this article, but I was like, that's actually a really good way to just work it into the hull of the boat. But anyways, talking about the hydrofoils, this is what we want to know. This is a second generation all electric foiling boat. So the other article we're going to talk about also is an electric boat as well. And so I think the reason why this is becoming more of a thing is we all know electric boats. What's the major downside in electric boats? you've got a lot of batteries in order to have enough power and enough longevity to be able to go out for a day. And those batteries are heavy. And when you have a heavier boat, you get less top end speed and you get less range out of those batteries as well. So that's why I think the idea of the hydrofoil has really started coming in to evolve the space to be able to allow you to get more range and top speeds out of it. So this right here is the C8's hydrofoils in computer system. They lift it clear off of the brine or the freshwater, depending on what you're in. Once the foils are exposed to 16 knots of flowing water. So 16 knots gets it this high off the water. Could you imagine seeing a boat wherever you fish, whether it's a lake, an ocean, brackish water, river, wherever you are, being able to see a boat literally not touching the water? It makes sense why it would get a lot more range and higher speed because there's less of that friction and it's not pushing as much water with the hull, but pretty interesting. So this vessel right here that we're seeing in these photos is a 3,527-pound boat, dry weight. They have a different center console and day cruiser configurations. This is the day cruiser. It's a quiet, efficient 50 kilowatt electric motor fitted inside a narrow torpedo shaped pod that's attached to the rudder's outboard end, which you can see back here. What is important here to know is the C foils. So these are the C foils that we're talking about. And what gives them the lift is it's kind of hard to see here, but it's not this. It's this little fin right here on the side. So those on both sides of it are what kind of give you that lift up in the water, where they go and all of a sudden the boat just starts lifting up once you hit that 16 knots. It's similar to getting a boat on plane where the boat kind of sits on top of the water rather than in the water. It's essentially the same type of concept. The struts are attached to actuators on their inboard ends and to the hydrofoil on their outboard ends. The actuators can simultaneously trim the foil's angle of attack and twist 100 times per second. That's how fast these things can twist back here. There's an app that you can use. It's 69 kilowatt hour lithium ion batteries charged from 10% to 80% in 35 minutes. We connected to 135 kilowatts of DC juice. But you can see here, since it's a full electric boat, you can control everything from charging to lights to navigation to everything right from the app. So it looks pretty futuristic, pretty cool looking boat here. But I wanted to call out that I thought this was pretty cool. This is what it says here. The C8's efficiency, according to Candela, at 20 knots, the vessel consumes 0.8 kilowatt hours of electricity, which is the equivalent of just 0.026 gallons of gasoline when it's moving at 20 knots. That is pretty crazy. All right, so let's keep talking about this a little bit more. So hydrofoils, here's another site. This one is primarily for pontoon style boats or tri-tune boats. So this right here is a sun tracker. I believe this is a 22-foot, sun tracker party barge 22 DLX, right? Where I live here in Minnesota, this is a more common thing that you're going to see out on the water rather than a boat necessarily like this, right? However, these are two electric outboard motors on the back of this pontoon. What's interesting is they talk a little bit about the history of back in the day, most boats didn't go up past 30 miles an hour. Now they're getting up past 50. So this boat right here, two electric outboard motors on the back of it. It effectively overcame 800 pounds of lithium iron phosphate Life PO4 batteries, 40 kilowatt hours, fueled the twin Elco EP50 electric outboard motors. So this has hydrofoils on it as well, which you can see here in this photo. So you've got a hydrofoil off of this tune and a hydrofoil off of this tune. So these fins, I guess, take like basically a day to install. And they have electric versions of them too that can go down in the water and they can go up in the water if you're going to be in shallower water or you're going to be trailering or anything. But you can see they only reach down a few inches. They add about 4 inches to the draft of the boat, but it's in the back of the boat, right? So as you're getting onto a trailer, it typically isn't going to hit many things. You don't really have to worry too much about beaching it or anything like that. So pretty cool concept here. So what does it mean in terms of performance? So the problem that we talked about, batteries providing lightweight energy, is a thing in the future, right? Right now, batteries are really heavy. Even lithium batteries are still heavy, considering how many you need to run dual electric outboard motors, or even one outboard motor to get a day out on the water. So the hydrofoils create the lift to overcome that additional weight. So again, they're trying to eliminate weight from the boat by creating lift on the boat to remove that pushing of the water and the friction on the water. So this is how it has worked so far. Um, the hydro fin foils lift nearly half of a boat's weight. A typical bi-tune, so two tunes, so in your normal pontoon boat, with a gas 150 horsepower outboard motor, runs at about 30 miles per hour. Adding the hydrofin foils can easily make it run 37 to 39 versus 30. That's huge. Adding that 30% better economy is common at cruising speeds. Riding higher on wings makes the boat run smoother, drier, and quieter too. All big wins. They've got some data here on their hydrofin test on a 25-28 pontoon Merc 150 that you can read about here. Um, Comparing performance with the final propellers, the foils removed, the boat reached 17.2 miles per hour, turning just 5,400 RPM and drawing an overloaded 67.2 kilowatt hours. With the hydrofin foils installed, the same props turned 5,750 RPM, so more RPMs, to reach 24.9 miles per hour at 58.56 kilowatts. The original propellers without hydrofoils reached 6,079, consuming 49 kilowatt hours. When you do all the compute, 39% increased speed and 16% improved efficiency with hydrofoils installed. So it goes to show how much better it is to have hydrofoils because it's lifting essentially half of the boat's weight. So worth the wait. A boat might lose 6 or 8 miles per hour when it's full of people. However, when you have hydrofoils installed, that same boat will just see a 2 to 3 mile an hour drop. So you're getting a lot more efficiency in terms of your mileage out of the boat, for either if you're looking at gas, or you're looking at speed, or you're looking at battery usage if you are using an electric motor. The only downsides to using hydrofoils like this, of course, they're going to cost money. They're going to add to that depth of the boat that you need to worry about. But again, they have a model that actually will retract up inside of the boat to protect it when you're trailering and whatnot. But that's something to know. Ground collisions, they're actually built and intended to break before they damage the boat. So if something were to happen, similar to how you put a transducer on the back of a boat, you have it on a plastic mount because you don't want to ruin your boat. You'd rather ruin that plastic piece and be able to replace it. These are the exact same way. And so they're currently working on a bunch of different things that you can do to mount these different styles of them. So I think we're really at the beginning phases of seeing these really come to fruition as electric motors, both inboard, outboard, become more popular. And as the technology improves over time, I think we're going to see more and more boats starting to incorporate these, even if it's not like the first article where we've got the boat fully lifted off the water. It's a little funky, right? Like my mind initially went to like, well, how do you fill your live well tank? Right? Well, I guess you've got to sit down in the water. You got to pump the water in first, and then you can lift up. Like there, it's an interesting concept. Granted, that's probably the least of these people's worries, and they're probably not out there fishing. But as a fisherman, that's kind of some of the funny things that I think about. But I think what we're going to start seeing is more of these things, even if it's something like this where you attach it on and it gives you a little bit more lift and it reduces 10 to 15% of the weight of the boat. You're still going to get better efficiency even with the gas outboard. So I would be interested to see what these look like in the future, especially on your normal fishing boats that don't have the tunes on it, where these can clip in just as nicely. Because I can't imagine, again, many people going through the work of selling their boat to buy a boat like this that has these pre-built in. So let me know down in the comments. What do you guys think about this? Are hydrofoils a thing of the future? Are they something that you've looked at, seen, thought about before? I'd love to know what you guys think. Blaine saying James Bond stuff, super cool. Yeah, especially this image right here, right? Like, how crazy. I don't know what I would think. Of course, you'd want to make sure your boat's always clean because everybody can see it, including the bottom. Looks pretty cool. Black Hole Donkey. I wonder what those hydrofoil boats would do with some big Champlain chop. Could be a game changer. Yeah, I mean, the article here says that it can was it this article or the other one? But one of them was saying how it, since it raises you up, it's a quieter, smoother ride, and it's a lot drier, right? Because you're going to get a lot less splashing. Like, look at that. And it's barely got any wake behind it too, because all you've got are those three. I think this one's got three hydrofoils on it. Yeah, three hydrofoils with those small little props on it, and that's it. And these small little props are what are actually moving the boat, obviously, because there's no outboard motor down in the water. That's the other thing, is you're not going to be able to use in this style the hydrofoils under the boat and your motor in the water, because your motor is going to be lifted out of the water, right? And so that's why there's this design. And this design is different, where it's not fully lifting the boat out of the water. It's just lifting it enough to reduce the amount of weight that's on the water. But that way you're still able to use the motors that you've got. Travis is saying, I believe the US military played around with hydrofoils back in the day, but I think it was discontinued due to draft issues and hull strength. That could be. That's a pretty good insight. I'll have to look that up and see what kind of boats the military used before. Be kind of cool to get your hands on an old one. I'm sure they're not like meant for um, small bodies of water, but that would be interesting to look at. Anyways, drop in the comments. Even if you're part of the replay squad, let me know what you think about hydrofoils, something that you would consider. Have you heard about these before? Do you think it's absolutely the stupidest thing you've ever seen and you have no interest in it? I'd love to hear what you think. All right. Second thing that I want to talk about, invent help. So I haven't done a ton of research on this business, if we want to call it that, but Invent Help is essentially a platform, from my understanding, in which anybody can invent anything. They can come up with an idea, they can work to get a patent on it, and they can approach Invent Help and say, hey, I've got an invention idea, but I don't have a manufacturer. I don't want to build it. I don't want to distribute it. I don't want to do any of that. I want to license my idea to people that are already in the business, and they pay me a royalty, or they pay me a licensing fee, or they pay me something for it, or they even buy it from me, right? And then I'm sure Invent Help gets a cut of that deal, because what Invent Help is going to do is help people find these opportunities that are out there. So I came across this. It was, of course, posted on May 24th, 2024. I'm on a third-party website right now, the PR Newswire, because they actually do a better job formatting this than going directly to the Invent Help website. But you can check it out. I'll link all this stuff down below if you're interested in checking it out after the stream is over. So if you're on the replay, you'll be able to see it there. But essentially what this is a gentleman that said, I thought there could be a better way to keep your hands in line guide warm while fishing in cold weather. A guy from Michigan. So I invented the thermal stick. His design offers an alternative to constantly wearing gloves, and it prevents the hassles and delays associated with frozen line guides. My magnifying glass locked up. What is going on? This is great. We'll just keep going. So the patent pending invention provides an improved fishing pole for use in cold weather or freezing temperatures. In doing so, it helps keep your hands warm. So it must have a hand warmer in the rod itself, right? This is not actually invented yet. So the photo that you saw, I generated using AI myself on, based off of some futuristic design of what it could look like. So essentially probably some kind of heating element, whether it be a coil inside of it, whether it be a wire around the outside underneath a pad. Not 100% sure, but it's a patent. And I didn't look at the actual patent to see how it is. My guess is they would say heating element, which means that it's open to either option. It also prevents frozen line guides. So I would imagine they've got a wire or something going to the line guides that if it does get, it's 40 below outside when you're ice fishing, that will have enough heat going through it and energy to be able to make sure that you don't have icing up on those line guides. It increases the comfort and convenience. The invention features an innovative design that's easy to use, so it's ideal for fishing enthusiasts and ice fishermen. Ideally, it is producible in design variation. So both open water and ice fishing was the thought. The original design was submitted to the National Sales Office of InventHelp. It's currently available for licensing or sale to manufacturers or marketers. And then you can write to InventHelp if you want to buy it. So exactly what I had said about what InventHelp is, it is called the thermal stick. And again, he says, it offers an alternative to constantly wearing gloves and prevents the hassles and delays associated with frozen line guides. So it's a heated rod, right? My questions around this are, how are you going to power it? Because we all know heated things take quite a bit of power. So does that mean you have to charge your fishing rod? Is there an interchangeable battery? Is it a lithium battery? Is that going to work very well in cold environments? Do you have to have it plugged in while you're using it? Like, what are all of these things in how this is going to work? Am I going to try it if it does come to market? You bet yourself I'm going to try it, as long as it's not like the RV1 underwater fishing reel and rod. That's like, what is it, like $1,500 for a rod and a reel that has an underwater camera. As long as it's not that expensive, I'm probably going to pick it up. If it's a couple $100 or less, I'll probably pick it up. But pretty interesting. What do you guys think? Kyle is saying a hand warmer fishing rod. That is essentially what it is, according to what I'm seeing here as well, Kyle. So I don't know how it's powered though, and I think that's the biggest thing. You need to have a good way to power it, and you aren't going to want it to last for 2 hours, and then you got to go charge it again, right? Or be swapping out batteries. So, granted, a rod is pretty long. There's a lot of space for a battery in it, but that also means it's going to add weight to the rod too. And a lot of people like buying lighter rods, not heavier rods. So there's a lot. Maybe there's a wire on it and you just have a little charger portable pack, like a portable phone charger that you throw inside of your ice bibs or something like that. That could be lots of options here. But I thought this was pretty interesting. There's not a lot of like revolutionary new breakthrough technologies or net new things that you see out there. And this is one of them in the ice fishing industry that does look pretty new. Granted, not on the market yet. This is just a patent. One of the benefits of watching this channel is I try to sniff this stuff out, so that way when it does hit the market, we know exactly where the idea came from, to see how it comes into fruition, test it out when it gets into the market. We're on like a couple year cycle. So as this podcast just started up this year, as we explore these things a couple years from now, it's going to be like, do you remember 2 years ago when we talked about this stuff? This is exactly what it's going to be like. I'd rather have hand warmer gloves. Yeah, my hands, I think I've gotten them frostbitten too much to the point where I have very poor circulation in my hands, where they get cold almost instantly when they're outside in the winter. But I still love ice fishing. So I'm the same. Like I have hand warmer gloves. I have gloves that are just like regular mitts with the fingertips off, because my biggest thing when you're ice fishing is I hate having like gloves on when I got to tie line or I'm dealing with a hook or I'm baiting my hook. And so I like having at least my fingertips open, and then I just pack a couple heated hand warmers in there. But it would be nice just to grab onto, I liken it to like an ATV or snowmobile that has a heated hand grips. It's so nice in the winter to have that. I imagine this is going to be fairly similar. Best way I'd personally want it would be via USB charger for any permy, flip over, or on the go ice fisherman on the ice. Yeah, and especially if that wire is long enough where you could use it while it's plugged in, right? And it would be cool if there was like a small little bit of a rechargeable battery in there, maybe a couple hours of use. So that way, if you're fishing with it in your permanent or even in your flip over, you could just fish with it inside, plugged in for a while. Once it gets charged up, you could unplug it, go hop around for a couple hours outside. And then when it dies on you, either move your shack over because you found the fish, or at least get inside, warm it up a little bit. I could see that happening. Do you think we should buy it? Should we license this and then build one, and we can call it the FGTN rod, and then we can market it and sell it? No, I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. We're not a manufacturer. Would be kind of cool. I wonder, the guy's name's not in here. I say it'd be interesting to reach out to this guy. I could probably get to him through the sales office, but what questions would you have for him? What would you want to know? Who would you want to see make this rod? Any company out there, any rod company out there, who do you want to see make this? My guess is some Chinese manufacturer is probably going to build some knockoff of it, right? They're going to find a way around the patent. But like legit in the US, who would you want to have make this rod? Or who would it fit really well with? My immediate mindset goes to HT, high tech. Um, this just seems like one of those types of products that they would carry. Uh, I don't know. This could be interesting. Or maybe it's one of the ice fishing Eskimo otter clam. Maybe one of them make something like this to get into that rod market. I mean, clam's already into the rod market already, right? Maybe this is the next thing that they do. They got a little bit of money sitting around. Maybe they're going to license this. Could be interesting. Perhaps HT or Eskimo. Doubt I'd trust clam or Freybill with that. I didn't even think about Freybill. Timu. Yeah, maybe Timu. Oh, that'd be funny. All right, we'll keep going here. We got the Mars NIDAR CUAS compact system ensures privacy. So this is the thing, the futuristic thing that I was talking about. So like picture, you've got a $10 million yacht cruising in the Bahamas in the middle of the ocean, and you've got your family and friends laying out on the sun deck, right, on the front of your yacht. And all of a sudden you've got all of these stalkers, right? Because you're a celebrity now. And they're flying drones over and trying to get pictures and trying to create drama and all these things on social media, right? And you're out there and you're like, I just want some peace and quiet and some privacy. Well, now you can, because introducing the Mars NIDAR CUAS compact system. This is what it is right here. You can see it right in this picture here. It is this small little thing that actually is pretty big. You've got a camera on it. You've got 360-degree, I think that's radar. It's got LiDAR on it. It's got a bunch of camera lenses. It's all high tech. Let's talk about it. For many owners and charterers, a super yacht is a treasured place to relax in privacy. The trouble, of course, is that these yachts can sometimes be tempting flyby targets for unmanned aerial vehicles at the hands of recreational operators or paparazzi. That's the word I was trying to think of. Good news, countermeasures exist. So the Mars Group's NIDAR CUAS compact system, NIDAR Core is the company's software-based AI platform, while CUAS means counter unmanned aerial systems. That's what it stands for. It can get this. It can detect and thwart up to 1,000 drones. The customizable system uses artificial intelligence and sensors for drone detection and optional electronic countermeasures. With the software-driven setup being updated monthly to keep owners ahead of the UAV technology curve. To understand the technology, consider the consumer-level UAVs relying on two sets of radio frequency communications. The first set includes flight path commands that are relayed to the UAV from the human operated controller via telemetry and the ballpark 2.4 gigahertz frequency band. The second set transmits UAV's video imagery back to its operator at about 5.8 gigahertz, while modern drones use frequency hopping schemes to help ensure connectivity in RF-rich environments like cities. Most UAVs are programmed to return to their operator if their RF stream is interrupted. Okay, what that means. So I have a drone, right? I fly it up in the air to get a really cool aerial shot of something, right? Or I want to fly it around, follow me out on the water. The way that works, it's typically 2.4 gigahertz to control it. So go left, right, go up, go down, like all of those things, faster, slower. 2.4 gigahertz out to the drone. On the way back, it's sending video feed to either my phone or my controller that I have. That's 5.8 gigahertz. So that's what they're talking about here. So they're just giving you a little bit of a baseline right now around the frequencies that it uses. That's important as we talk about communications. The NIDAR CUAS Compact starts at around $250,000. Again, remember, we've got like a $10 million yacht here. So this is like Meh, this is probably fine. A nice little attachment to your boat. It has network sensors and smart software that's bundled inside a mast-mounted ray dome. That's this guy right here, the mast-mounted ray dome, plus a below decks black box that networks with the super yacht's navigation system. Customers can spec a range of sensors and countermeasures in the system, can sometimes use the yacht's existing networked instrumentation. It's a multi-layered approach. There's not one solution that fits all. So, this is how it works. The updatable NIDAR core acts as the system's centralized brain by drawing on different sensors such as daylight and thermal imaging cameras, Doppler enabled radars, and RF detection sensors to detect and identify multiple targets before alerting a human operator with a suggested response. The omnidirectional RF detection sensors can spot a micro-sized drone at 6+ miles, sometimes with its precise location, altitude, and speed. The system's radar is composed of 4 high-definition solid-state radar panels on the radome's lower pedestal. That's these guys right here, the 4 things around the bottom that we were talking about. Delivering a 360-degree coverage. The radar can spot a recreational level UAV, so like a UAV, like a drone, recreational level at almost a mile out. And its Doppler post-processing provides flight pattern information and can help the system differentiate UAVs from a bird, for instance. Most systems employ 2 cameras, 1 daylight, low light camera with a 14x continuous optical zoom, and 1 thermal imaging camera with a 30x continuous optical zoom. They're housed in a rate. It's very, very tech heavy. Let's get to the countermeasures because I thought this was pretty interesting. While the NIDAR CUAS compact system can automatically identify, track, and defeat UAVs, it is built with a human on the loop scheme where input from a person is required to initiate countermeasures. This is important for legal reasons. This setup also creates what Mars calls hybrid intelligence between the system's AI and its human operator. So right now, the way that it's built is it doesn't actually do anything. It will find them and it will tell you about them, and then it will let you decide what you want to do. So it's not going to just like go and shoot them down like a what are they called? The things that the military has. So if like missiles coming in, ground, air, ground defense, whatever things those things are, this isn't like that by itself. It's not going to just detect a missile, detect a UAV, and shoot it down. It's going to say, "Hey, I can do a few different things. What do you want me to do, human?" And that is what gets them around some of the legal loopholes. So this is what it can do. Should the drones linger, the next step sometimes involves jamming the drone's Achilles heel. So remember at the beginning, we talked about the drone is getting direction on where to go and how to go 2.4 gigahertz and back at 5.8. The Achilles heel is that frequency. And the way that the frequency works at 2.4 gigahertz, like we were talking about earlier, is if you interfere with that, the drone typically, most current drones are going to not want to crash or land someplace that the owner doesn't know where it is. They return to the home GPS location. So this is going to jam that 2.4 gigahertz signal, and it's going to send the drone back home. Sometimes that can work. However, there are legal concerns about being able to do that. And so that's where like international law comes up and a lot of different things. We're not going to get into that part of it, but that is one of the capabilities that it has. Most recreational drones, this will work because they share those RF vulnerabilities. However, savvy operators sometimes program the UAVs to fly pre-scripted routes. So I can map the UAV to go, or the drone to go a certain route, and it'll just come back when it's done. So there's no 2.4 gigahertz. It's like it knows where it needs to go and it's going to come back. So then in those cases, it potentially won't do anything. And they just record the video imagery onto the drone. It lands, and then you're going to be able to pull that stuff off. Okay. Where is the next? Physical countermeasures. So while electromagnetic pulses and lasers are years away, so think about that. Electromagnetic pulses would be where it can emit electromagnetic waves that are essentially going to fry it, and it's going to cause it to crash, right? Through the air, it's going to get confused. It's an electronic component. It's going to fall and crash, right? Obviously, there's legal reasons around why you can't do that with aircraft. Lasers. This is the thing we were talking about before. Imagine it just having a laser and it could just shoot it down. Well, it's saying these are light years away. However, Mars does have an AI guided interceptor. It's a counter UAV system that's designed to protect heads of state, ships, and military installations. Each interceptor can fly. So, this is an interceptor that takes off from your super yacht and flies after the drone. They can fly at almost 180 miles an hour and autonomously by itself defeat multiple small and medium sized UAVs at ranges over 3 miles using battering ram tactics. So it's like, hey, look, we can't do electromagnetic pulses and lasers right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little interceptor drone pop up in the air and at 180 miles an hour come flying after your drone. I'm just imagining this little tank in the air and it just whoosh, like rams right into it and just takes the thing out by smashing into it. And it's like, all right, well, I didn't fire anything at you and now you're down. So I think that's just absolutely hilarious. Of course, out of our budgets here, right? $250,000 is the starting just for this unit. Who knows how much that interceptor is? But I like this is the stuff that gets me excited. Like you can dream about one day, right? When you're a billionaire, this would be kind of cool to have. So, anyways, let me know what are your guys' thoughts on this. I think it's pretty cool. John is saying, time to put on. Hey, John, what's up? Thanks for hopping on. Time to put on bass boat to keep my spot secret, right? You probably buy the lake for all the lake access and rent it out if you wanted to for that price. Clam thermal ice rod would be so nice for ice fishing. That would be pretty cool. All right. Suzuki goes south. I'll hit this one really quick. But these look super sweet. It's essentially what it is. So Suzuki's basically taking their highest end, top end motors between, I think it's 115, 5 models between 115 to 250 miles an hour. And then, of course, they show the 350 here for some reason, which is actually really silly. Oh, because the 350 was already out. Okay. The 350 was already out. But what's new is the 5 models between 115 and 250 are now available in the Stealth line called Shinobi in Japanese, featuring a matte black look with vivid black graphics that gives these engines a bold yet decidedly understated look. Until you nail the throttle, and that's when the bold takes over. So they look really cool, new styling. That's essentially what these are. But they're their premium highest end, like fully decked out, most powerful, best all around. They've got auto trim. That's a feature that you guys know, probably know. I just got a boat this year, my first boat. And one of the things that I found out about is in about 2016, outboard motors started entering the market with a feature on them called auto trim, which basically, if you don't have a boat, essentially what it is your motor's in the water, right? And it doesn't just sit straight down in the water all of the time. You can have it sit that way, but essentially what's going to happen then is you're going to plow the water, right? And if there's big waves, you want the bow of your boat to go up so that way the waves go underneath and don't go over your boat, right? The way that you do that is it's called trimming on your motor, where instead of your motor being straight down, if you tilt it back, the boat actually, because the motor is going down, and if that's at a hinge point where, say there's a little prop here going straight, the boat's going to go straight. If you angle the prop like this, what's going to happen is you're trying to drive the back of the boat into the water, so the bow is going to come up. I know my hands are probably not the best way to describe this, but that's essentially what trim is. Google trim and you'll figure it out. But what's new, I don't have this on my boat because mine's a 2000, but auto trim, essentially what it does is it's always looking to try to detect based off of your speed, what is the right trim? How should that motor be angled to give you the most even ride on plane as you can get? So you want to be level, because if you have the bow too far up, of course, you lose all of your vision in front of your boat. So these have auto trim. I mean, they have freaking everything in them. These things are super, super cool. One of the other things that I wanted to call out here is they've got a program going on right now. In the battle for sustainability, they have a 442 program. And the concept is to get the old, less efficient two-stroke outboards off the water and onto the scrap heap where they belong. A boater can trade in an old two-stroke Suzuki motor to a Suzuki dealer. They receive a discount that can be passed along as the engine gets recycled or scrapped. Even better, the money received from scrapping then gets donated to an environmental organization of the dealer's choice. Any two-stroke counts, no matter how old it is or in what condition it's in. The incentives apply to new Suzuki outboards from 2.5 horsepower all the way to 350 horsepower. The pilot program performed last summer in Minnesota, raising $4,000 for MN Fish. So that's just the charitable contribution part of it, which Suzuki then matched to double the impact, getting the 442 program off of the ground. So essentially, if you have a two-stroke Suzuki motor, you can go to a Suzuki dealership. You can give it to them. They're going to give you a discount on a new four-stroke. That motor is going to get recycled. The fee that they get, the money that they get for recycling it, because there's metal in it, they get money for it. That all gets donated to a charity. And then Suzuki, at least last year, doubled that money to go to a charity. And all for the sake of getting two-stroke motors off of the water that are less efficient and not as environmentally friendly, because they want to get you into the four strokes. Of course, there's profit involved in that as well. All right, I'm going to hit these next few things really fast because I am getting pretty long-winded tonight, and we're coming up on the hour mark before we know it. So what is a PLB? A personal locator beacon. If you are somebody that fishes offshore, or you fish the Great Lakes, or you fish in remote areas by yourselves, like the Boundary Waters or anywhere else, wherever you guys are located throughout the U.S., there's a lot of good reason to have these. Let me know down in the comments if you're obviously on the live stream or you're watching on the replay. Do you have a PLB? Have you ever heard of one? Have you thought of getting one? There's a lot of different versions of these, but essentially it's a personal locator beacon. Again, I'm not going to drain this, but I'll link to this article down below. This is a newer model that has both GPS in it as well as the radio frequency 406 megahertz satellite that can communicate with COSPA's SARSAT, which is like search and rescue, essentially, GPS in it. It's all in one. Before, you had to have two different devices. One of them that was going to be that satellite radio, and then the other one, one was satellite, one was radio, and like, because one would go further, and then the other one, which was going to allow them, once they got within 2 miles of you, to give you a more accurate location of where you were. But it was really slow. At times, it could take up to 2 hours to identify you. These are great if, like, your boat sinks, your man overboard, there's an issue that happens. You can actually get help and have search and rescue come for you. So that's what these are. These are actually required, I believe, in any ocean-going vessels, especially commercial, as well as on the Great Lakes. Of course, if you're a solo fisherman, or not even a solo fisherman, but you like to fish in the Gulf a lot, these could be a life-saving thing. So check your local regulations. You guys probably know, if you live in those areas, what these are already. But this was a pretty cool new one, at least new to me, based off of what I saw, where you can actually do the testing yourself on your phone, and it's all worked into one. What's really cool about this is you can actually clip it on. There's an attachment that comes with it, the slide to unlock. And it's another attachment on here where you can actually have it wrapped around an inflatable vest. So that way, if you were to go into the water, there's a little strap that's around the inflatable vest. When it auto inflates, it pulls the string that activates this in the water. It floats, of course, it's got a strobe, so it will automatically inflate. It will automatically go off to get search and rescue out to you. They've also got ones that are based off of the amount of time in the water, depth of water. Like, there's a lot of cool things that are out there, but this one essentially eliminates you needing to have two different devices, and it's all worked into one. And based off of my research so far, ACR is one of the leading manufacturers of these devices. All right. For you Minnesotans that are out there watching this, if you live in the Mankato area or fish in the Mankato area very often, this would be something that's probably of interest to you. Clear Lake in Sibley County is open to unlimited fishing. It's a 505-acre lake. It was open for unlimited fishing, no limits, until February 23rd, 2025. And the reason is I think the max depth or average depth in this lake is about 8 feet deep. There is a ton of carp in this lake, invasive carp. It is also impeding the aquatic plant growth in the lake. And so what the local fisheries and DNR want to do is they're going to lower the lake level by 4 feet. So I think it's going to be about 4 feet deep in those deeper spots. And so all of the fish that are in there, and there's like walleye in here, pike, bass, like there's a ton of fish in here in addition to all of the carp, of course. They're going to lower it down. It's going to cause the sediment around it to kind of solidify. And then next year, they're going to re-raise it and they're going to restock. They're lowering it to 4 feet because what they're hoping is going to happen then this winter is a winter kill. So it's going to kill all the fish that are in there. And so that's why there's unlimited fishing right now, is they want to allow anybody that wants to keep any of these fish to get them out of there before they just all winter kill this winter. So that's why there is the unlimited fishing. So if you want to take your hand at catching a boatload of fish, I've never fished this lake, but you could go check out Clear Lake in Sibley County. And I'll have a link down below as well, the Lake Finder page, where you can see, yep, maximum depth is 8 feet. Shore length is 6.44 miles. And it has 505 acres, 498 literal area for acres as well. So you can check this out. All right, deals, the things that people want to know about. Mustad, I've actually got 2 deals here for Mustad. KVD, all KVD Mustad products right now are 33% off. That's Kevin Van Dam's. It's 33 seasons of bass fishing that they're celebrating. Offer valid from 5/13/24 to 6/13/24. So here's some of them right here. I'll have them linked all down below. Just click on the link, go to the page, and they will automatically be discounted for you. So that is a pretty good deal. Mustad is also having a Memorial Day sale, which I checked as of right now, and it is still live. I don't know if it's going to be live after today, so make sure you check it out as soon as you can. Use code Memorial Day site-wide, 30% off the entire website. So check that out. I'm not going to drain it. You all know what Mustad has to offer, I believe. Bubba. So Bubba has rods, bags, apparel. I don't remember who it was. Was Kyle the one? Somebody here was looking for a rod deal. If you're looking for a rod deal, this is one of the places you could potentially get one from Bubba. They've got some rods, 40% off right now for Memorial Day. So make sure that you check that out. That'll be linked down below. 6 Cents Fishing right now they're up to 60% off select products now through today. So it started whenever now was to Tuesday, May 28th at 11:59 p.m. CST. So that's like 2 hours from now. So go check this out, 6centsfishing.com. I'm actually going to check out their website right when we get done here and see what they got going. I don't have very much of their stuff, so maybe I will check out some of their baits or something like that, tackle storage or something. Because if you can get it for 60% off, I don't know what's in the 60% off. Should we click on it real quick? Boom, boom, boom. Apparel, lures, up to 25% off rods. Here you go. Get more rods, Father's Day bundles, and gift things. Let's check out what the lures are. I don't want any of their rods. There's a couple other rods that I'm trying to. I got that Trica rod. That's pretty awesome. Here we go. 60% off. The Curve 55 Black Cross. So this is like a rip and wrap style. Looks like it's got a clear bill on it too. Ooh, these are some good bass lures here. So check it out. I'll have it linked down below. A couple more, this is the last deal that we got here. Fish USA sales and deals. This is the rod deal I wanted to call out here. It's buy a St. Croix Victory spinning rod and you get a free Okuma Storm Runner spinning reel. This is one deal that they got going right now. They got a deals, buy one, get one on Bait Pop Pro Packs. They've got the Gamakatsu tube head jig heads right now on sale. Buy 2, get 1 free, and 15% off all P-line. And that is what we got for the stream. I just want to give a huge shout out to all the members on the channel. If you're interested in becoming a member on the channel, it really helps support the channel. All of this content is free. There's a new thing I've started doing on the channel, and I'm really ramping up to it. I'm only doing it a few days a week right now, but behind the scenes videos, answering your questions, showing you what it's like in my gear garage, in my studio, editing, getting sneak peeks of things before they go live. I'll literally film or go live and do pretty much anything that the members want behind the scenes. I don't do any editing on that content. Sometimes I'll give you guys sneak peeks of videos before they post as well. I just appreciate all of the members that support the channel, that make it possible for me to do what I love, and that's making these videos that help all of you guys out, finding the right gear at the right price to make your time out on the water that much better and create memories as you go. So if there's anything you want to see on any upcoming videos or FGTN podcasts, or people that you want to see me interview and do maybe a live Q&A with, please drop it down in the comments below. If you want to see more of this type of content on the channel, check out this playlist that's going to pop up on the screen as soon as this is over. And until next time, take it easy. See y'all. Thanks for hopping in.